On today's show, what's going on with the Memphis Grizzlies? What happened to them? We'll talk about their game versus the Blazers. We'll talk about what the Blazers should do. Warriors versus the Wolves. What's going on with the Wolves? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen each and every day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and comment anything below. Let us know who are your 2 stars of the night. Answer some of our questions we're going to ask during this show. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code Locked On. And joining me, as always, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
It's just so refreshing to have a Wednesday of no Bulls basketball. It's just, I deserve this. I deserve this.
It's like a little day off for me, a little mini vacation for me. Still working, but little mini vacation not having to watch the Bulls. This. No Mavs for me either. It's like, let's go.
We deserve this.
I deserve to not be frustrated out of my mind watching this team play basketball. Today's episode, we're going to get into the Grizzlies versus the Blazers, the Warriors versus the Wolves, couple of Western Conference matchups, and then, of course, we'll play our favorite game every single week, Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including Anthony Edwards' diet. Love it. All right, let's get into this. The Grizzlies fall to the Blazers. Blazers get a good win, a weird win for both of these teams. We're going to talk about the Blazers win and we'll talk about the Timberwolves win. They both have a ton of injuries, like in the game, around the game. Steven Adams is out for the Grizzlies. Nurkic went out in the first quarter with a calf injury. Jeremy Grant went out in the second quarter with a concussion that they sent him to the blue tent, for lack of a better term. That's the NFL term. They sent him to the blue tent, yeah. But whatever the blue tent is in the NBA. And so the Blazers were missing some guys too. Memphis had they had a 5 to 10 point lead basically the entire game. Portland was just hanging around. Damian Lillard has one of his patented 17-point quarters with 5 assists in the third quarter. And then you hit about the 5-minute mark in the fourth quarter. Morant checks in. He only played 5 minutes and 11 seconds. The last 5 minutes, 11 seconds of the fourth quarter. Kind of weird to me. Portland takes the lead, about 3 minutes left. And then last 2 minutes, tie game, 109-109. This is what happens. Lillard hits a 3. Ja misses a shot. Brandon Clark gets the rebound, misses again. Anthony Simons gets a fast break. Jaren Jackson Jr. then misses a shot. Clark gets an offensive rebound again. Eubanks gets a fast break on an and one for the Blazers. Ja gets fouled on the other end. Ja misses a shot, hits a couple free throws. Then all of a sudden you're like intentionally foul for the Grizzlies. Didn't work out for them. The Blazers get the win. What is happening with the Grizzlies? Let's start with the Grizzlies first. What's happening with the Grizzlies? How did they break down in this game when they were pretty much healthy, except for Steven Adams, and the Blazers were not?
I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Like the difference, it seems lately, is that the Grizzlies have struggled to defend the interior. You would think that Jaren Jackson by himself would be able to handle that role really well, but teams are really just saying, hey, we're going to attack you guys down low here. With no Steven Adams being down there, right? And which is weird because, right, in the playoffs, you kind of look at it and you're like, they couldn't even use this guy. But during the regular season, he does play a big part of the defensive role on his team. So I think that is a little bit of it. But I think with Memphis, right, there seems to be different moments with this team where they lock in to operating, trying to just one track minded attack the bucket. And then now we're just going to shoot threes. It seems like they don't go into a consistent offense that gets them open looks at the bucket, open shots, and different things like that. And it's just sporadic, though. It's not consistent. It's not like this is something we see all season. It's something we saw a little bit tonight in this game. But then, right, they go on a 9-game win streak, and we're just like, this is kind of what the Memphis Grizzlies are. So interesting to see how the rest of this is going to play out with them. But I still have a lot of confidence in this team. Is that weird to say even after tonight's game?
This Grizzlies team is really interesting. And we talked about them a couple weeks ago, and I was like, why doesn't anybody believe in the Grizzlies? And why doesn't anybody pick them to be a title team? Like, why is nobody picking them as I'm picking them to go to the finals? It doesn't seem like anybody feels confident in that pick, except for maybe DeMichael Cole over on the Grizzlies side, and maybe Chris Vernon. Maybe that's the only people. Yeah. The Grizzlies scored 97.6 points per 100 possession in the half court in this game. They're 23rd in the NBA in half court scoring 94 points per 100 possessions. Like, they just don't have direct ways to, like, all right, we're getting a basket, we're doing this, we're getting a basket. And for as good as Ja Morant has been, it just doesn't seem like he has that. And I thought it was weird that he only played 5 minutes and 11 seconds the last 5 and 11 of the game. And Ja, a couple times, going to the basket, and he got fouled. He scored in the fourth quarter. It's not like he didn't score. It's not like they didn't make things happen. But you got to go get a bucket in really big moments. And if he doesn't get fouled, he's that's kind of what he was selling out for at the end here. The Blazers, these are the teams below them in half court offense. So this is efficiency in the half court offense. These are the teams that rank lower than them. The Pacers, the Pistons, the Magic, the Raptors, the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Rockets. Like, none of those teams are in the playoffs, right? Like, those are all play-in teams or even below that. Like, some of the worst teams in the NBA. That's why I think some people don't believe in the Grizzlies, and that's why they lose games like this. Now, they scored well enough this game. I think your point about defense was good. They had like 112 offensive rating, which is like fine in the NBA right now. So they did score. They didn't get enough stops for sure. They let the Blazers go to the free throw line too much and all that. And Memphis their offense just ran out of steam at the end. And Blazers scored 28 points off turnovers. Memphis only got 18. And for the Grizzlies, you have to win on those edges. You have to win in rebounding battle. You have to win in turnover points. You have to win in fast break points. Like, you have to win in all those categories if you're not going to be able to score in the half court. And they just didn't get it done in this game.
It feels like the Grizzlies go through moments, and I know this may be weird to say, right, because they're scoring and stuff like that, but it feels like they go through moments where their buckets aren't impactful, right? Like where they're scoring the basketball, but it's not causing the other team or taking enough time off of the clock for the other team to really worry about it, because they're like, okay, we can go down here and get this bucket. Because like you said, a lot of their offense is that run and gun offense. Let's go. Let's move quickly. Let's get down here. And so I watched in this game, Dame Lillard got a quick stop. I mean, I think maybe 7 seconds came off the shot clock.
Yeah.
And he takes his time to go up the other end, sets up the offense. They move the ball around. He finds himself wide open in a corner for three. Bang. And it's like, that looks completely different from what Memphis does. And I want to be clear, I'm not out on Memphis at all. I think they're going through a tougher stretch right now defensively without Steven Adams and things like that. They're still second in the Western Conference. They're a really, really good team.
Turns out when you have to play the West, though, your season gets a little tougher, because since Ja Morant said, I'm fine with the West, talking about what teams he basically respects in the West, since he said, I'm fine in the West, the Grizzlies are 7-8 against Western Conference teams, with losses to the Warriors twice, Suns twice, Lakers, Kings, Timberwolves, and now Blazers. They are on top, to add insult to injury, they are 1-6 since the Shannon Sharp incident. So that was going to be one of my counted ups, and then we ended up making this a segment. So count it up. Is that a coincidence that they're 1-6 since the Shannon Sharp incident?
Listen, might be a little nervous out there. Shannon's a big guy.
But in all seriousness, though, with the I'm fine in the West, doesn't that put the target on Memphis's back? Like, didn't that put a target on them? And now it seems like they're like reaping the benefit, like they're sowing what they reaped with that comment. It seems like.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the thing, right? Like they thrive off of that. That's kind of the energy that they built around that city. And
they should have. They're not now.
They can't run away from it. But you know what the thing is too, right? Like they're going through the down cycle of it, and we're gonna nitpick it right now, right? When they were killing teams left and right, we weren't sitting there like, man, it's cocky when they go through a tough stretch. It's confidence when they're winning.
Their team, Their team is a transition three. It's like great if it goes. It's amazing if it goes in. Everything's working. Yeah. You miss it, and you're like, why did you guys, why would you ever take that shot? You know, it's like, that's what it feels like. Coming up, we'll talk about the Blazers a little bit, and then let's get into Warriors versus Wolves and how the Warriors blew that game and how the Wolves, shorthanded as they were, got to win. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. Ooh, FanDuel, you got it set up for the big game, for the Super Bowl. You can go to America's #1 sportsbook for a Super Bowl party, and with a no-sweat first bet, you'll get $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. $3,000 back in bonus bets. So you put a bet down, it doesn't win, and then you get up to $3,000 back. That's incredible. Go check it out. FanDuel app is safe, secure, super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. Go check it out at FanDuel. See what they have available for the Super Bowl. They'll have all kinds of prop bets. They'll have the line, the money line. You can bet on all kinds of different things on FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports partner of the NFL. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. All right, Pat, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen each and every day. For your second listen today, go check out Locked On Mavs. Go check out Locked On Bulls. Great stuff every single day from us and our co-hosts. More good stuff from us than our co-hosts, let's be honest with this. But great stuff from each of those shows. Go ahead and make them your second listen today. And we know our co-hosts won't listen to this. Hi, Hayes. Hi, Isaac. All right, let's talk about the Blazers real quick, though, because we talked a lot about the Grizzlies in the first segment. Blazers get this win. It's a good win for them. They're kind of in a weird spot right now, though. You have Grant that goes out with the concussion. You have Nurkic is out with the calf injury. There are all kinds of trade talks around them. They're still right outside of the play-in. Here's the question I want to ask about the Blazers. What should the Blazers do? Trade deadline coming up in a couple days. What should they do?
I don't know because of dog. I want to say, right, like I think the thing is, right, like the easy thing is to say you have to trade Dame. At this point, everybody's saying you have to trade Dame. I think the obvious answer is that they have to trade Dame.
They're never going to trade it. That's not what anyone I think would tell them to do, because that's dumb. They're just not going to do it.
Well, I think the thing is, right, you're pigeonholing yourself into sticking with what you've already done. This Blazers team, I'll ask you this. Does this Blazers team look any different from a Blazers team with CJ McCollum?
They're worse. I mean, the thing about the Blazers, so they have Lillard locked up through, he has a player option in 2026, 27, when current middle schoolers will be in the NBA. Nurkic is locked up to 2025. They have Simons locked up to 2025. They have Nas Little 2025. Shaden Sharp till 2025. Jeremy Grant is gonna already turn down his extension, and they're looking to re-sign him. He's a free agent after this year. If they sign him to a 4-year deal, he's signed up till like 2025, 2026. So all of a sudden in 2025, so 2-3 seasons from now, you'll still have Lillard, Simons, Grant, Nurkic, Shaden Sharp, Nas Little. And like no cap space between then and now, because you have all those guys signed up with these deals. So they've got to make some kind of moves. Maybe they don't do it this year, but I think you got to take some of these pieces and they already just did this, the shakeup, right? They already like shook down the roster and changed it all up with Simons, with Grant, with bringing in Gary Payton II. But it seems like they've got to do it again.
It's time. Well, here's the thing, right? When you shake things up the same way as they were before, but with new, younger pieces, you can't expect different results. And I think that's kind of what the Blazers are right now, right? Like, to me, it's not to say that Damian Lillard isn't the talent that everybody expects him to be. He doesn't come out and perform the way that everybody
He's been amazing this year.
He is amazing. He's got a back-to-back. Am I mistaken? 42 in this game, 50 the game before, right? So like, He's absolutely on a tear. But the thing is it being impactful on a night in, night out basis? Is it helping this team win? Because there's so much that is catered to, okay, we got to put the ball in Damian Lillard's hands that.
Well, see, I go the opposite way. I feel like Dame is impactful. It's like everybody else around him, it doesn't feel like it is. You look at the difference between this game specifically, when Ja had the ball and when Damian Lillard had the ball. You were much more scared when Lillard had the ball than when Ja did, at least definitely in the fourth quarter and going into the end of this game.
Oh, Dame's impactful for sure. But I think the thing is, right, like we talk about with this Blazers team most with the other guys is like Jeremy Grant had a game. Anthony Simons had a game, but it's not, hey, this is every single night. you got to have guys that are going to be there every single night. And I don't know if how easy that is to have when so much of the team is still catered around Dame. What's Dame's usage rate this year? Like, he's got to be up there.
It's probably not high enough though for this. The Blazers owe
32%. Next closest is Anthony Simons at 25.
That's fine. The Blazers owe a protected pick to the Bulls. It's top 14 protected, and so right now they're kind of tied up with their draft picks. But if they do end up conveying that, would you re-sign Grant and then do a Simons Grant bunch of picks for somebody and just like, let's just do Damian, an actual real second star, and see what happens?
Who are you gonna get? I think that's the question.
I think Grant and Simons and like 3 or 4 picks, that gets you something.
But then right now you're running it back and just saying, give me a second star out here.
But it's Dame and like somebody better than CJ, right? Like somebody real.
CJ's pretty good.
CJ's real. I'm not.
CJ's pretty good.
Really,
you know what I mean?
Like, I was really
like that's that. I think that's the question right now. I've said this. The biggest thing to me, right? Damian Lillard's teams have not been as impactful when he hasn't had a real big man on the team. I like Nurkic. I think Nurkic is fine. I think he's a nice player. He's not a top big in this NBA. He's not right. Like when Damian Lillard was the most impactful, LaMarcus Aldridge is down there. You have a legit second option to go to. That pick and roll is disgusting. I think that's the pairing that they've never replaced. And so for me,
what if they went and got Ayton?
DeAndre Ayton's a good name. I wanted him to go there because I've literally, the thing for me with Dame Lillard and the Blazers has always been, you need to go find him another big man that can just go out there and flat out play and dominate when he needs to. DeAndre Ayton, when Anthony Davis, his name was being floated in trade because he was injured, I was like, send him to Portland. Like, these are the kind of guys you have to get in there to me with Damian Lillard. And I think that's where a lot of times Portland is missed in the draft, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, dog, you keep just drafting dudes that look like knockoff CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard, and that's not the answer.
Simons, Shaden Sharp.
Go get him a big man. I think the thing is, right, you're at a point now where you have to figure out what the formula is, and you still haven't figured it out. This is a nice team. This is a fun team to watch. Damian Lillard's amazing. Jeremy Grant's entertaining. Anthony Simons, young up and coming, like what he's doing. You got 3 guys averaging 20+ points a game. They're not going anywhere.
Let's talk about the Warriors versus the Wolves. The Wolves get a win in overtime. No Gobert, no Cat for the Wolves. Warriors pretty healthy overall, have pretty much all their guys. A couple of young guys were out for them. But Warriors, for the first 3 quarters, 11 of 25 from 3, 23 of 30 from the 30 free throws in the first 3 quarters. Great start for them. They built up a 14-point lead at a certain point, and then their offense just completely fell off in the fourth quarter and overtime. Only 21 points in the fourth quarter and overtime. They went 0 for 10 from 3. With the whole Splash Kingdom over there went over 10 from 3 in the fourth quarter of overtime. Curry was the only Warrior with multiple field goals made in the fourth quarter and overtime. D'Angelo Russell got hot in the fourth quarter, scored 14 straight points for the Wolves. You had a couple of weird plays in this game, but in overtime, Anthony Edwards goes and gets you 2 buckets. Just really needed to get you 2 buckets because D'Angelo Russell had fouled out. Jaden McDaniels was dealing with foul trouble. You had a couple of injuries with the Wolves in this game. I thought this was an impressive win from the Warriors, and especially from Anthony Edwards.
From the Timberwolves.
Yeah, Timberwolves. What is it?
Yeah. You said Warriors. That's all right. I agree with you. And you know what? The Timberwolves have really, without dealing with injury trouble, right? Like, they have really turned this season around. They're 12-5 in the month of January. Yeah. Love the way that they're playing. I think that, weirdly enough, right, they're better defensively, which is kind of weird to say.
Second in the NBA in defense since January.
Right, like it's like, hey, we lost Gobert. Better. Huh?
So
what's going on there?
But Gobert's missed a couple games here and there, but he's been playing. Yeah. It's Cat the one that's been out, and they've been second in defense. Like, they were a good defensive team last year when they figured out what their identity was, went on that run, won the play-in. Patrick Beverley jumps on the scores table, and we know the rest of that story. But it's been fascinating to watch what they've been over the last couple of weeks, like 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever. They're 12-5 in January, like you said. Second in defense, 15th in offense. Anthony Edwards averaging 27, 5 and 5. D'Lo has been amazing. 20 points, 5 assists, almost 50, 46, 90 is his shooting splits since January 1st. They haven't had Cat, but all of a sudden, if you have Gobert, Kyle Anderson's been back, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Anthony Edwards doing some things, like you have a really good set to play some defense. And now they're all the way up to 7th in the West.
Yeah, and I think that makes a difference, and the fact that D'Lo's kind of upped his game as well, and you saw it in this game, right?
6th in the West now, by the way.
The best thing that when I was listening to the game that was broken down about D'Lo is they said, he's a little sporadic, he's up and down, doesn't always have the great shooting nights and stuff like that, but when he's on, he's impossible to stand in front of. He has so many moves. It's just about, can he finish at the bucket? Is he knocking down that 3-point shot that opens up his driving lanes? And if he's able to do that, I mean, he's a game-changing player. And you saw that tonight going up against Steph and Curry. I mean, like there were times tonight where I was like, yo, is D'Lo the best player on the floor right now? Like
that fourth quarter stretch, it felt like it. He was just hitting everything. And the Warriors really missed a bunch of shots, and they were playing really weird. They were playing Curry, Poole, Clay, Dante DiVincenzo, and Draymond in the fourth quarter, like trying that small ball lineup, but without Wiggins, without Looney, and they just got beat up because Anthony Edwards is big, and Slow-Mo is big, and Naz Reid's out there doing stuff. Like they just have a bunch of big dudes, and they really outworked the Warriors in that sense. And
I love that Naz Reid continues to make a case for, hey, if you just play me more minutes, I can give you really good production. Just about every time I've seen Naz Reid play over 20 minutes, he's giving you like 18 and 5, 18 and 7.
They have two former all-star centers, and Naz Reid's making his case right behind him. With the Wolves though, what do you think's the ceiling on this team? 'Cause I feel like we're heading towards a Cat trade. Is what I feel like we're heading towards.
I think that possibly, right, just because there is a huge question mark on what is his role on this team, right? Like at first we were like, finally, he gets to be the shooting big that we wanted him to be. And then we look up and he's down in the post with Gobert standing on the other side. And we're like, what the heck's going on
what are you doing here?
you wanted to be the shooting big, right? Greatest shooting big man in the game here. I think this season all depends on what Anthony Edwards is going to be able to bring to the table on a night in, night out basis. I think this team can be a very good team. I love the fact that defensively they've stepped up. I love what Gobert's able to bring, but I'll tell you what, it's not a coincidence that this team is 12-5 in the month of January when Anthony Edwards is really hitting his stride offensively and just being able to go out there and be the dominant force that he is. This team will go as far as he's able to take them. That's what it comes down to. There's a bunch of other factors in there, but the one thing you have to be able to count on night in and night out is that Anthony Edwards is going to be able to play.
And Cat has not played in that time in the month of January. By the way, I can't believe that you said best shooting big man of all time in front of me. Like you literally just said that to me.
No. I said Cat said that he's the best shooting big man of all time. You remember that during the All-Star game last year? And then he went out and won the 3-point contest. I'm not gonna lie. He had a case.
Not of all time. Let's win a playoff series. Let's hit some big shots. Let's hit some big boy shots that matter.
He said shooting. That's just percentage. That's just percentages, my boy. It don't mean he's better than Dirk. It's okay.
That means Seth Curry is the greatest shooter of all time then?
Is Seth Curry gonna Seth Curry, you know what I mean? He's got like the Corbin numbers.
It's like him and Kerr have like the best 3-point percentage in NBA history. So.
Yeah.
Coming up, let's play our favorite game every week. Count it up. Where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including, let's keep talking about Anthony Edwards and his diet and the fraudulent Grizzlies scorekeeping. Talk about that next. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You just go pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you want. Listen to all these sports. You ready for this? NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and somehow more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals currently Available and operational in over 30 states. Go to prizepicks.com or download the app. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get $100 instant deposit match when you deposit $100. So throw $100 in there. They'll give you $100 to use. Go check it out. prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right, Pat, it's time. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Checking out all the Locked On NBA shows we have across the network, but it's time to play.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
Where we count up our most interesting, fun things in the NBA. According to GQ Sports, Anthony Edwards did an interview this week, and he said, I eat 21 bags of Chester's hot fries a week. But, quote, probably more, though, for real.
Count it up.
How many is he off by? And do you buy that he eats 21 bags of Chester's hot fries a week? A week!
110%. I mean, you got to think about this. 21 years old. He's probably how old is he? 22, 21, 22? What is he now? He's probably eating, I would say, you're starting
21.
21. Oh, for sure.
Can you do something for me?
You're starting your day with at least 2 bags, 21. Probably before 10 a.m.
Get the
You're
hot
probably
fries
doing
for
one.
me.
You're probably doing one at about 1 at lunch. So you're talking about 3 a day and then maybe a snack going into dinner. Absolutely, I can see that. I remember being a 21-year-old and I didn't have a world-class athlete body. Like I did, you know what I mean? Like I'm eating hot fries, but then like I just go sit on the couch. He's going to play basketball. You know what I mean?
21. Get the hot fries for me. That number is, he said he's probably off though, for real. He said he probably eats more than 21. Because you imagine like he told the team, this is what I like. And so they put it and it's everywhere, right? Like, locker room, they got food there. Plane, they got food there. Practice facility, they got food there. And it's probably always around him all the time. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious that he eats 21 bags or more probably a week.
I can fully see Anthony Edwards being the NBA Ocho Cinco, where he's just like,
all I do is eat McDonald's. And
all I do is eat McDonald's. He's
Claire's,
not joking.
Right.
He's literally not joking. Like he's pulled up to multiple shows with a bag of McDonald's. I love Ocho Cinco. I see that so much in ads. Just like, you know what I have that you don't have? Talent.
Hey, he can catch a football like Ocho Cinco could too. The Memphis Grizzlies of Memphis recently.
Of Memphis? Are you sure?
I do that because the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim I thought was the funniest name ever in sports. The Memphis Grizzlies of Tennessee had some controversy this week where there was a Reddit post by a Redditor and he sent this 1,500-word like manifesto about how Memphis's scorekeeper was posting fraudulent numbers for Defensive Player of the Year leader Jaren Jackson Jr., talking about that there's this conspiracy that he got like 4.5 blocks a game at home and only like 2.5 blocks a game on the road. He was taken off the Defensive Player of the Year odds on certain sports books across the country, and this made it all the way up to NBA officials, where the NBA actually responded and verified that his stats were real. But what I do want to talk about, this was the Redditor's first post ever. This account had never posted before. There's a conspiracy right now that this was the Memphis Grizzlies themselves, that they sent Chris Verno or Lang Whitaker or somebody that works in their front office or works for the team, somebody from Grind City Media or whoever, to write this up, to get some hype around Jaren Jackson Jr. so everybody can start looking through his numbers. So my question is,
Count it up.
do you believe this was a Memphis Grizzlies franchise employee plant story, or do you believe some random guy was just bored one day and decided to write this all up?
First off, shame on you for not throwing me some conspiracy theory music on this one. There we go.
It's fair.
I'll say this. I wouldn't put it past anybody in the NBA.
It's genius. It's genius.
I also understand how people are on the internet, so it would not surprise me if somebody's first post was a 1,500-word manifesto.
My guy's in a cabin somewhere with a league pass subscription.
Hey, bro, you know what I mean? Like that, like it wouldn't shock me in the slightest one way or the other. But I think it would be smart if they did that. I think I'm gonna be real with you, right? Like Rudy Gobert, love what he's done. amazing. Jaren Jackson had such a case for Defensive Player of the Year last year. Such a case for Defensive Player of the Year last year. And just he didn't win it. And so, listen, when you're Memphis, you got to drum up some attention somehow. They talking, they're writing manifestos, they're going at Shannon Sharp, you know what I mean? Whatever it takes, man. Like they'll fight for their attention. Let's do it.
We're fine in the West, but we're not fine with our awards voting right now. I think this was somebody from Memphis. I really do. And I think that it got away from them and it blew up way bigger than they ever thought. But it worked way bigger than it ever thought. Has there been another post from this Redditor? Is this still the only post? No, that's the only one. Come on, dog. Come on, put the music on. I'm telling you, this is Lane Whitaker. This is Chris Verno. This is one of those guys that works for Memphis, and one of them. For sure. Oh, interesting. All right, last one we'll do. LeBron was mad at the refs this week, as many of us have been mad at refs this week for different reasons. And there was a call that didn't get called in his favor against the Celtics. Jason Tatum smacks him on the arm. They don't call the foul. LeBron threw a temper tantrum like we never seen before. And the NBA referee's official account on Twitter responded like this, quote, "Like everyone else, referees make mistakes. We made one at the end of last night's game, and that is gut-wrenching for us. This play will weigh heavily and cause sleepless nights as we strive to be the best referees we can be." Count it up. What percentage worse are refs this year overall? This is the worst I've ever seen. 10% worse or like 30% worse? NBA refs this year are almost worse than NFL refs. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is impressive. As a Bengals fan, I'd have to disagree, but that is, well, you know. But that, I said almost. I said almost. But that is impressive because I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like it's an all-time high of. It feels like you don't care if you make the right call. You're going to insert yourself into the game, right? We had our guys that would do that when we were growing up watching the NBA, right? You get a Joey Crawford who's like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna give you the jumping charge to let you know that I'm here." You're Tim Donaghy's. You got some wild guys, right? But I think right now that the fact that there's no accountability for any of these refs, the only accountability that they have on them is like, you don't get to referee playoff games because those are important. Yeah, but you're messing up the span on the way to the playoffs. The NBA refs are more times than not an absolute joke this season, and that is sad. You know that they go over every single call they make in every game, and before the game, they go over calls they made the night before and go over what they messed up on and have to like review all that stuff, and they go through film and like all that kind of stuff. They go through that all the time. So when people say there's no accountability, like what do you want to do? There's some people on Twitter saying that they should fine refs this year. I'm like, you can't fine a ref. Like, what do they make it? So let's put this in a player sense, right? If you watch tape and you watch film and you realize that you miss your rotations and people are scoring on you at will, and then you go into the next game and you do the exact same thing again, are you going to have playing time? Is your coach Jason Kidd? Depends. You know what I mean? You teed me up for that one too. That was too easy. Yeah, it was perfect. I mean, but honestly though, right? Like there has to be some accountability here because at this point, right? Like the one thing, and I'll put it in a Bulls sense. Listen, the Bulls are bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, right, like that the refs have changed our entire season, but legitimately, we have had 6 calls go the other way that the refs have literally just said, "My bad." A couple of them from the same refereeing crews. The last 2-minute report? Last 2-minute report just happened the other night. I kind of disagree with this one a little bit, but I guess that makes up for one that they said wasn't a foul, that it was like he punched him in the face. What are you talking about? But I think the thing is, right, like you have to, the NBA has to do something because there's too many times between too many different fan bases and too many different players. It's different if it's just the fans arguing about it, but there's too many different players saying you are changing the outcomes of games this season by either not calling calls or calling calls that we're just trying to figure out where it's at. And you're supposed to be the best in the world. I've been calling for this in the NFL and the NBA for years now. They got to do... There's this whole video set up in Secaucus, right? New Jersey. They talk about let's go to the replay center. We'll send it to the replay center. Why aren't they reviewing like every call? and give you the immediate, which we don't have to do these long reviews that destroy the momentum of the game. There's times when I'm sitting in the American Airlines Center in Dallas and I'm like immediately when a call happens, look up at the video board, they show the replay, and I know exactly what the call should have been. But then they go to the video board and they sit there for like 5 minutes and it just slows everything down. Why don't they have one person or two people even assigned to each game every night in that video room? They're looking at all the angles and then they just call it down to an earpiece in the referee's ear and they can fix that stuff right away. Like just give me the call, what it is right away. Like, hey, we're gonna go to the replay center. Okay, we got the right call. Boom. Let's go. Let's do that. Let's do that instead of just leaving it up to these three people that are running, doing cardio up and down. Like they can't be making the best decisions when they're like running up and down either, too.
Yeah.
Give me something.
And I think the thing is, right, there has to be a balance. There is a part of this game where there's going to be calls that are missed. There is a part of this game where there's going to be calls that are made that are questionable calls. But I think the thing is, right, like if you're supposed to be the best guys in the world, and NBA refs have even less of an excuse than NFL refs, because at least NFL refs are like lawyers during the day and then they just show up on Sunday. You know what I mean? NBA refs are just NBA refs. You have to be the best at your job. There has to be a hey, listen, I'm going to be the best ref and we're going to ref this game this way. And even the best crews this year, I mean, the best crews this year have had questionable calls go their way. And so I have a tough time feeling sympathy for a lot of these guys this year because it just seems like, hey, I get that you're going through all of this, watching tape, doing all this the game before, but you still continue to call these games poorly.
Let us know in the comment section below. What do you think about the refs? What should they do with the refs this season? Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen today. Now go make your second listen. Locked On NBA game to game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On NBA game to game with analysis from local experts just like us. Follow Game to Game on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel or the podcast feed wherever you're listening to this show. Available on the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom!